Tough Mudder. If you worked in an office,
everybody
in the office was doing it. And now it's like, I haven't heard anybody mention it in 5 years.
Right.
Because that's what happens when something comes up this quick. Like when my mom's like, do you think I should do a high rocks? I'm like, oh, that's the end of it.
Right.
Because, you know.
Zach, what's the best training app on the planet?
It has to be Train Heroic. Gone are the days of sending the old crusty PDF. Now we have a sleek new app.
It's easy to use. There's videos with descriptions. You get to track and log your weight, your reps. There's a community chat function. You can submit videos. You can get feedback.
How about the leaderboard, Tim?
I started using Train Heroic first as an athlete and someone who wanted to learn. Now I use it as a coach. Athletes and other coaches can go and be a part of my training community and get results.
Whether you're an athlete, coach, or just like to train, use the link in our description to find out how you can train on the best app in the world.
And join us on Train Heroic today. Welcome to the coachemup podcast. I'm Tim Riley. I'm not joined with Zach Zillner today, but that's okay because I've got Kenny Stantucci sitting in the building with me. How you doing, man?
Nailed it, buddy. Dude, great. You know, I come out to Austin. I try to come out at least once a month because this is the new epicenter for health and wellness. You know, if you're doing anything worth a shit in the health and wellness space, you got to be out here. Yeah. Whether it's mixed martial arts or strength training or, you know, coming up with a new product. Yeah. I mean, this is where you want to be because this is where the movers and shakers are. So I love it out here.
I'm glad you're here. And that, by the way, thank you for coming on the show.
Dude,
our mutual good friend, Eric Rakowski. Shout out, Eric.
One of the best.
One of the best.
Hands down. I mean, listen.
And one of the best at connecting people.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, and I say this all the time, I met Eric probably 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And him and another trainer at my gym, as trainers, I would rank them about a 5. As personalities and
top
connectors, 25.
100%.
Hands down, some of the best, like great personalities, people you want to be around. And that is so much more important to a lot of people than the training side. It's like, it's the difference between the scientist and the salesman.
Yeah.
Those motherfuckers, I've seen Eric work a room like nobody
I know. And it's a gift.
Yeah. It's so impressive.
Yep.
Like, and I think it comes with a certain type of, you know, because I think me, him, and Marty have all grown up very similar. We didn't grow up with much. So whatever you got, you had to work for.
Yep.
And if you didn't have the skill set or the money to do things, well, you had to rely on your personality.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot with kids who come from like, you know, it's almost like a mobster mentality, right? You just got to be a mover and shaker in the streets.
Yep.
And kind of scrounge and fight for what you got.
Well, Zach, who's not here with us, he has a real job. He's going to the Texas women's basketball team. He's the strength coach of that team. They're playing South Carolina today at 1 p.m. So he has to, you know.
It's a cool little gig. Huh?
Yeah. Not bad.
Yeah.
But he and I joke, even though it's not really a joke, that we're both grateful we were ugly, you know, all the way through middle school. And we were late bloomers.
Yeah.
So I had to develop a personality, dude.
Yeah.
If I couldn't connect with people, if I couldn't get you to laugh, you know what I mean?
There'd be no purpose for me. And I said,
no purpose. Yeah.
Because as a man, I think, and as a woman too, but like mainly as a man, to get into the circles you wanted to be in and to do the things that you wanted to do in life, you had to leverage something. You have to give some value to whatever community you want to be a part of. And I say that all the time. I tell this story. As a kid, I read a book called Stone Soup. And it hit me as a kid, and it still holds true to this day. Now, some people say the story is about a beggar. And this beggar comes to town, and they're like, oh, he tricked everybody and conned everybody. I go, or he convinced everybody to get along. So this beggar comes to town, goes to the first house, and he's like, hey, you know, I don't have anything. Could you give me some food? And the guy, you know, they shut him away.
Beat it.
Yeah. He does this all around the town. Nobody helps him out. He finally goes into the middle of the town, gets this big giant black pot, puts water in it, starts stirring it up. And somebody walks by, one of the people in the town, and they go, what do you got in there? He's like, oh, it's stone soup. If you give me some carrots and stuff, I'll throw it in here. You know, it'll make it taste a lot better. They're like, oh, hold on, let me go get him. Next guy, he's like, oh, I got a chicken. Yeah, throw it in here. At the end of the day, everybody feasts together.
Yeah.
Now, some people have money. Some people have a good personality, and some people are connectors. Some people are the ones who pull everybody together.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. Like, that's the way I saw it. I'm like, he didn't have all this other shit that everybody else had.
Yeah.
So he made something, but he still added value to everybody, right? Everybody gets to sit around now, connect. And I think that's more important, right? As humans, we're such tribal creatures, and you want to be where everybody else is. We want to be, as much as New York is the loneliest city in the world, and I've been living there for 15 years, but people want to be there just to know that other people are around. It's crowded. It's congested. It's dirty. Like there's a lot of fucking downsides to New York. But even the angriest, most, kind of keep to themselves type of people still gravitate towards New York because they just want to know other people are around.
Yeah.
You know? So
I want to be in the mix.
Yeah. And this is what I said during COVID. People are like, oh, you're crazy for opening up a gym in 2021 in New York.
Yeah.
I go, well, think about it this way. If we agreed as society over the past 2,000 years, that the worst thing you could do to somebody is throw them in jail, isolate them.
Right.
And then the worst thing you could do to somebody who's in jail is isolate them even more.
Even further, right.
So I go, if that's worse than death, then why the fuck are we all agreeing to do this? Stay in your homes. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Don't talk to anybody. Don't touch anybody. I'm like, fuck this. Like, I moved to New York because I wanted to fucking touch people.
Be in the mix, yes. Well, you touched on something early on. That's kind of an unavoidable, I mean, it's been my experience, so I'm biased here, but you mentioned Austin being like, this sort of epicenter. So many people are still continuing to move here. It's been one of the fastest growing cities as long as I've been here.
Where are you from?
I'm from Nashville originally.
Oh, that's another.
It's another one.
I love it.
The same thing's happening there.
If you ask me in this order, it'd be New York, Austin, Nashville, New Orleans. Those are like America's.
Is New Orleans blowing up like that? I didn't know.
Well, no, I mean, just as cities that I like.
Okay, got it.
Like cities I like going to, and I'm like, New Orleans has its own music, its own food, its own culture. It's got its own breath.
100%.
Nashville is just one of these southern cities that I just enjoy going to, and then Austin, like for the fitness and wellness scene.
Yeah. And to that point, like being here, just being in Austin because of the sort of like the ethos of the place where everyone is trying to grow. People are pursuing hard things. People move here because they want to see what they can accomplish. Like living in this city during this time period has been massively beneficial to me in my career. Like I'm like literally, if I stay in Houston, because it was a decision, I'm like, do I go to Austin or do I not? And I was like, okay, I make the decision to go to Austin. I think about the trajectory of my life. If I'd stayed in Houston and, spring,
I don't think
Texas,
anything's fucking going on.
Holy shit. Nothing's going on.
It's a huge city, but I just don't think it's moving the same way. I think Austin has become the new LA.
Yeah.
The movie industry is not what it used to be. Movies suck nowadays. Nobody goes there anymore. It's become the worst part of the country. It's still beautiful. The weather's still great, all that shit. But at the same time, I think in the 70s and 80s and 90s, even the 60s, people went to LA for opportunity and like this dream. I think all those people, all these beautiful people that would have went to LA
are coming to Austin.
Are now coming to Austin.
I do feel that. I have a sense that 10 years from this conversation, I'll be able to look back and I'll say, God,
you were one of the first
I
ones.
was here at the right place at the right time. And timing is so important.
And I was just telling my nephew, I said, I was like, you're lucky that you're living here. I go, because this is the time to live here because there's so much happening so fast, and it's like the Wild West.
It is.
When there's no real structure to it, it could be fun and exciting, and people are looking to grow and build things here. And that's what's happening. And you walk around, everybody's beautiful. So
I know, it's pretty crazy. There's incredible. So many pretty people here, but it's wild.
The comedy scene, the MMA scene, the music scene, like everything here is just booming. Yeah. It's great. I love it.
The Coachemup podcast has partnered with Eleiko.
Let's go.
Not only is Eleiko found in 85% of Power 5 schools, but they also offer at-home solutions from racks, flooring, rigs, barbells, bumper plates, your favorite accessories like straps and weightlifting belts, you name it, Aleco's got you covered. Go to aleco.com/coachemup and get access to the same equipment that they're using in the best facilities with the best athletes on the planet.
And now, back to the show.
For the people who don't know who you are, we got ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We've been having too much fun already. You've been in New York now, how long?
Yeah. I've been in New York for like 15 years, 16 years.
So
yeah.
I know who you are.
Yeah.
I would assume a good amount of our listeners know who you are. For the people who don't,
Yeah.
who are you? What's your experience in fitness?
Well, my name
Where
is
you at
Kenny
today?
Stantucci. I am an Aries. I like long walks on the beach. And
Do you? Do
yeah,
you really?
yeah. I
You
mean,
do?
who doesn't? Who doesn't? Not a lot of beach around here, but we'll make do.
Yeah, Barton Springs will work. Yeah.
What was it? Jorge Chavez
Yeah,
Boulevard?
Caesar
Chavez.
Chavez,
There
yes.
you go. Sorry for butchering that. So yeah, I grew up in North Jersey. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
If you ever watch Sopranos and shit, that's where like a lot of things happen there. So I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I was a fat Italian kid, couldn't get out of my own way. I was awkward, loved comic books. I was like a stereotypical fat little nerd. Got to high school. I realized at 13, 14 years old, like it was yesterday, looking in the mirror and just being unhappy with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was obsessed with comic books and pro wrestling and action movies. And I'm like,
Fuck yeah.
yeah, I'm like, right?
Yeah,
like,
hell yeah, dude.
Right? So I'm looking and I'm like, I want to look like these guys. I want, the attention of women. I want to look good in the mirror. So I'm like, I need to start doing what these guys are doing.
Right.
So now I'm watching fucking Rocky montages and Bloodsport and all this shit. And you're
God, what a good one, Bloodsport.
Right?
I was watching that way too young to be watching Bloodsport.
Or you start fucking punching wood and shit.
Yes, hell yes, dude.
So I was like, I want to start doing this stuff. So when I got to high school, I started playing football. I wrestled. I fell in love with wrestling, and I wrestled all through high school and college. Out of college, I got on television, got on the Challenge on MTV.
Hold on, time out. You got on the Challenge?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was on the Challenge on MTV. I never talk about it. It's
What time? I don't want to rabbit hole us entirely, but just real quickly, what was that experience like, man?
the best and the worst thing.
Really?
As a 21-year-old kid getting on television
Epic.
at that time.
Right.
Because now you could be YouTube famous. Now you
Right.
could be Instagram famous. I just did a thing with Celsius. There was this one kid there, and I had like 7 people DM me being like, oh my God, you're with so-and-so. I'm like, I don't even know who this fucking kid is. They're like, he's huge on YouTube. And I'm like, who the fuck? Now, 20 years ago.
There was only one kind of famous.
Yeah. 20 years ago, you had to be on television. That's the only place you saw people.
MTV was the biggest.
Yeah. So I was cool 20 years ago. I was this guy 20 years ago. So for me, it was like walking around New Jersey because at the time, and I used to make the joke, people would be like, you're like one of the most famous people in New Jersey. I go, yeah, it's Frank Sinatra, John Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen, and me.
Let's fucking go. Epic.
So, no, but it was like, I was early on, it was like 2005, 2006. I had a great time. It was fun. I treated it like a job. And there was a lot of people out there who were like, you're addicted to this one and that one. I treat it at 21 at that time in 2005, 2006, I never thought anyone would ever give me the opportunity to make the amount of money I was making just by like beating people in a competition. I'm like, unless some D1 football player or something shows up,
right?
Like I'm going to fucking out wrestle most people. Yeah. I'm going to be able to outrun most people. So I go, I'm going to go there. I'm not going to fucking drink and do like everybody's doing drugs and drinking and fucking
acting
and
crazy, getting kicked off
because everybody's
You're
just
like, fuck that. I'm going to make some money.
Yeah. I was like, I'm from New Jersey, but I hung out in New York when I was a kid and stuff. So it was like, if I wanted to go do crazy shit, we just went into New York.
Right.
Everybody else is from like Minnesota and, Kansas City and all this shit. So they're like, oh my God, I'm on TV. I'm just going to have the best time ever. Right. I treat it like a job. I'm like, I'm going. And for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to work
Locking the fuck in.
I was taking jump ropes with me. I had bands with me. I was working out on the show every fucking day. And that was my thing. I go, and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the process. And in the process of doing that, that's how I got into the fitness scene. I started working with Joe DeFranco early on.
Legend. Shout out, Joe.
The fucking best. I love that guy. He's like my North Star. He's like a guru. I love listening to him. He still has some of the best takes on fitness and wellness and stuff. But I started to seek out all these trainers and I'm like, I should just go do this because filming sucks, right? It's a hurry up and wait game.
Yeah.
You get there. Oh, we're sitting in the bus, wait till the fucking apparatus is set up, wait till the stunt crew goes through everything, and then you film, and you're basically filming for a short window. Then you're in the house, it's all this dramatic bullshit, everybody's crying and upset and fucking bullshit.
Right.
But doing the events was fun. Traveling was fun. All the rest of the shit sucks. So I realized that like, even when I was doing, so after the show, I did there for 8 or 9 years. Then I hosted the Jersey Shore, like online show. I was hosting for Comic-Con. I was doing a bunch of, I went to improv school. So I went to UCB, which was like the biggest improv school in New York at the time. I went there for 4 years. I got signed with an agency at like 18, 19 years old. So I did that whole thing. And I was like, going to castings and shit sucked. What I genuinely enjoyed doing pretty early on was going to the gym. It was the only thing that people didn't tell me to have to do. So I fell in love with it. And I go, now when you get good at anything, right? Like let's say you're good at pottery or you have a fucking food product or something when you get good at something, now you want to share it with as many people as you can. 100%. I think that's true growth. So I was like, man, I really like this. I want to do this and I want to share it with my family and I want to share it with my friends and anybody else who's, willing to listen to me. So that's how I got into the fitness scene and I just fell in love with it ever since. And I never set out, we were talking about this last night. Most people who are successful are set out to be really good at whatever they want to do and then who they become, right? Like Joe Rogan didn't set out to be Joe Rogan who he is today. He was like, hey, I'm having a good time on this podcast.
Right.
And it grew from there.
Right.
Had you have asked him what his trajectory would have been, it would have never been what it is now.
Yeah.
That he's got this monster.
Arguably the most famous person on the planet.
Right? And he's got all these, he's turned all these like fat comedians into fucking workout junkies and shit now too. So,
and true celebrities.
Yeah. And
which was not a thing.
And
not like that.
Rightfully, he is more famous, right? And has more influence than most celebrities.
Yeah. To your point, you mentioned like, not like certainly like him and a lot of people who have been able to find elite levels of success or even not even elite, just success in general. It feels like oftentimes like, sure, like you want to be successful, but you're more focused on the process.
Yeah.
And having a good product, doing a good job, making real connections with people. And then like as a byproduct of all of those things put together with a little bit of effort and direction and a sense of where you want to be.
Yeah.
That's how you end up getting to this. And it's almost always, in my experience, whenever I have conversations with people who I've identified as people, I'm like, man, like they've been able to do something special.
Yeah.
I feel like a common thread is almost always like, it doesn't look how they thought it would. They either didn't expect it to look the way it does entirely, like it's like mind blowing, or they knew that they wanted to get to a certain place, but it's not the way they envisioned it looking.
Yeah. And most of the time, I think for most people, it turns out better than you could have ever expected. So one of the things that I tell a lot of young coaches who ask me about training and stuff, they're like, well, you have all this stuff. But I go, I never set out to do any of this. I enjoyed what I was doing. And that's why I don't believe in projections. If people ask me what my 5-year plan is, I was like, I have no idea.
Right.
Here's what I do on a daily basis. I get up and make the most of that day. I want to have a great session with my first client. I want to do it with my next client. If I'm doing a podcast that day, whatever I'm doing that day, I want to enjoy it. And if I do the best possible job that day, then the next day will just ultimately come. Like, yes, there's shit I plan, but at the same time, I didn't set out to start the event that I did. I didn't set out to own gyms. Yeah. I really love coaching and I enjoy that. So when people are like, I want to be like so-and-so, or I want to be like this person, I go, you need to create your own path. You need to find what you love and fucking dig deep into that.
People struggle with that though. Because
because you see what other people have and you're like, I want that.
Yeah, if I just do what they did,
Yeah.
then I'll get there. It's like, no, because they didn't even know where they were going to be. You know, they didn't know what the next step was.
Everyone I know who's successful, like one of my clients is a very successful guy. And he goes, I just needed to come up with a solution to this problem that I had. Sending data and software and all this stuff. He goes, and I couldn't figure it out. He goes, so I just started fucking with it.
Yeah.
And he goes, and we fucked with it and fucked with it and fucked with it. And then people are like, wow, this will be really useful if you figure this out. Right. He's like, so I kept doing it and doing it. With my event, I'm obsessed with creating a massive event in New York. What happened was
What is the event?
So I own a company called Strong New York. And basically what it is this will be the 9th year that we do it. And part of it is like a speaker series, like a TED Talk style, like on nutrition, biohacking, health and wellness, training, whatever it is. So we have this main stage area. It's
awesome.
Then there's an expo floor where it's 70 to 80 brands, and we'll bring them different. Like I have big brands like Celsius, like they're a huge sponsor of mine. I work with them and I love the product. So I love working with brands that I genuinely use their shit.
Yep.
On top of helping leverage smaller brands. Like people reach out to me and be like, hey, I have this CBD product or whatever it is. I'm like, hey, great, get a booth.
Come set up shop.
Yeah. And what happened was the logistics part, I fucking hate doing it. It sucks. It's annoying. But what happened was in 2012, 2013, I went to the CrossFit Games. I went to, and just because I was interested in going.
Yeah.
I went to the CrossFit Games. I went to the New York City Coffee Festival. I went to Comic-Con. I went to the Food and Wine Festival. I went to Fashion Week. I went to FIBO. I went to Summer Strong. I was going to all these events, everywhere else but New York. Right. And then the events that I was going to in New York were all like, food based or fashion or, the boat show, the car show.
Right.
So comic books. And I go, there's no fitness shit here in New York. So 2015, 2016, I was working with Reebok at the time. And I go, I got this idea for like, we should do something like they're doing in all these other places in New York.
Right.
Because we have something for everything else but fitness.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
Right?
Right? I mean, yeah.
And that's what I thought. And I tell people all the time, I go, I still struggle because we'll put tickets on sale. And we did 3,300 people last year.
Whoa.
Right?
Holy shit, Kenny.
I know, but I want 10,000 people.
I hear
right?
you. Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm like, why is this not fucking hitting? And I'll be the first person to admit, like, I hate fucking talking to people where they're like, I'm killing it. Everything's easy. It's just like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Like it just comes to people. Yes, there's beauty in the struggle, but I'm still trying to figure out how do I get to that point that, you look at something like High Rocks.
Yeah.
We partnered, Strong New York and High Rocks were the same event in 2019. I met Christian, the owner.
Yeah.
And we worked together on putting together the event for the first one in New York. And we had like 1,400 people there between his event and my event. And 2020, they hired me to go around to CrossFit gyms and different small gyms like this.
Right.
And recruit gym owners and trainers to like push High Rocks on their clients. And I'm like, because I saw the beauty in it right away.
Right.
I had done a small event with them that summer. Then they invited me down to Miami. And when I went down to Miami, there was like 12 people who fucking ran High Rocks.
That is so wild.
That was 2019, right? So think about it. It was that kid they call the Hammer or whatever his name. It was him. It was Hunter McIntyre, me, and like 7 other guys. You can name everybody who was there. And yeah, and it was nothing. And I was telling people, I go, yo, this is going to be pretty cool. It's going to be a fun event. 2023, they had it out in Jersey, right? There was maybe 2,000 people there. And I'm talking to the owner, and like right before we were bullshitting, and he's like, yeah, our numbers are a little low. I go, dude, you got to fucking move it to New York. He's like, I know. We just need to find the right space. I go, because people don't want to fucking come to New Jersey.
Right.
So the following year, last year, they have it on this pier in New Jersey. They blow it the fuck up. They got 5,000 people. This year they have 15,000 people. So it's like, yeah. So it's crazy. But it's like, but now yesterday I was talking to a guy I was at the seminar with, my buddy, Luca. Yeah. So Luca has this.
He's been on the show, friend of the show. Shout out Luca.
He's hands down one of the best. There are so many fucking charlatans out there who talk about, helping you run a business, helping you run a training gym and all this stuff. Most of them, 99% of them suck. If they're charging you 50, 60 grand, they probably don't know what they're doing. They're going to take your money and run. I've dealt with it before. Luca and Andy are hands down the best. They will teach you your shit. So shout out to those guys. You should definitely fucking check them out if you need help running your business. I use them. But these guys have blown this fucking event up. And one of the kids I was talking to yesterday was like, CrossFit's dead in the UK. I go, yeah, Europe's always like a couple of years behind us. Yeah. Like I feel like CrossFit's been dead for the past 3-4 years here in America, and they're trying to revive it. But I think it had its moment and it's done.
Yeah.
And now it's like this High Rocks thing.
Yep.
And people are super into it. Do I think it's going to be around forever? I don't know. I know. Right? Like if you're in the game long enough.
Yeah, you see things come and go, dude.
I've seen CrossFit have its
moment. Camp Gladiator, bro?
No, what's that?
Oh my God. I would bet half the listeners hearing this, they just went, oh, fuck. Camp Gladiator was this pop-up fitness brand, and like everything was boot camp style. In fact, oh shit, this building we're in, Kenny, is their old headquarters. The fucking business died. Collective came in and bought this building from them. So
get out of here.
Swear to God.
Camp Gladiator?
Camp Gladiator. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that.
Is this was like a southern fucking thing?
So, I mean, maybe it wasn't. But regionally in the South and Southeast, huge. You would go by, if there was a park and it had open space, there was a guy with a Camp Gladiator van and people doing group fitness workouts outside.
Okay.
I mean, this location alone at one point, I think like their classes were doing 80 people a class. 80 a class. It was nuts.
That's crazy.
And COVID happened, dead. And it's like, you've never even heard of it.
Okay, so Rumble was big up by us.
See, no idea what that is.
Okay, so Rumble was
similar concept.
Rumble was this boxing studio. They built one in New York.
No, I know what that is.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
Justin Bieber was involved.
Yeah.
Fucking Stallone was involved. Fucking everybody. It was these restaurant guys in New York who partnered with a buddy of mine, this kid Noah, who's great dude, really good guy. He still got the one in LA. New York and LA, I think, do okay still, but it was like the hottest thing. Like everybody wanted to open up a Rumble. 2017, 2018, 2019, they had the fucking hottest trainers. It was blowing the fuck up. Now I'm like, I don't know if they did as well as they once were, but I've seen that come and go. Yeah. I've seen CrossFit come and go. I had 2 CrossFit gyms of my own. I've seen Tough Mudder, Spartan, all these things.
God, I forgot about those.
But think about it, right? There are these things.
Are they still growing? Spartan and it's not as big as it was.
No. There was a point where it's like if you worked in an office, everybody in the office was doing it, right?
You're so right.
I had so many people be like, everybody from my office is doing
That's
Tough.
Fucking funny.
We got to train for a Tough Mudder.
Yeah. Yes, dude.
So,
wow.
and now it's like, no, I haven't heard anybody mention it in 5 years.
Right.
So I think like because that's what happens when something comes up this quick.
Yeah.
Like when my mom's like, do you think I should do a High Rocks? I'm like, oh, that's the end of it.
Right.
Because,
the beginning of the end.
Yeah, because when you're
mom knows about it.
when you're one of the early adopters, you're like, oh, this is fucking cool.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I was the first one. It's like when you hear music.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, this song is hot. I remember hearing God, what year did Poker Face come out? I remember being like, yo, this song is fucking good.
Was that like
Lady Gaga?
506
or
something?
It was like 05, probably right around there. And I'm like, yo, this song is fucking fire. And they're like, this girl, Lady Gaga. And I'm like, damn, she's now like, you're like, as soon as somebody fucking lame starts listening to it, like, well, there goes that song.
Right.
Yeah. And I still hear it. I'm like, this is a fucking great song.
Banger.
Yeah.
Absolute banger.
I love it.
A classic.
Yeah.
You mentioned gym ownership, and I got to imagine opening a gym space, particularly in New York.
It's the hardest thing. And you can't take advice from anybody who owns a gym anywhere else because space in New York, LA is expensive, but not as expensive as New York. You could get a 1-bedroom apartment in LA, 1,100, 1,200 square feet for the same price you could get a 1-bedroom in New York, but it'd be 500, 600 square feet. So you're getting half the space.
Half the space.
So you're still paying a premium for it, like $5, $6, $7 grand a month, but you could live there.
Yeah.
Whereas like in New York, you're living like a fucking rat.
Right.
So the same thing goes with gym space. I'm on the 5th floor and I have no delusions of grandeur. I'll be the first one to tell people like my business doesn't work unless I'm there, right? I have to be there. And to tell you the truth, everyone successful that I've ever trained or worked with is in the trenches in their business, which is like, that's why I always feel like I'm on the right path because if you're going to do something well, you need to be in it.
Yeah.
This idea that people are like, I'm going to open up a gym and back out.
Right.
And you're like, but you're the guy.
Yeah.
You need to be there. It's like when you go to a restaurant and the chef comes out and talks to you, it's like, it's a way more meaningful experience
100%.
Than if they're like, oh yeah, he pops in every once in a while. And so you're like, it's a brand new place. So why the fuck is it?
Right.
What else is he doing?
The salmon's not quite the same now that you mention it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think my steak's a little burnt.
Yeah. Well, that happened to me last night.
Did it really?
Eric took me to that Carve.
Yes. Oh, yes.
The manager came out, was very nice. The steak was awesome. I ordered this cowboy steak.
Yep.
And the lady's like, and I've never been asked this before at a steakhouse. She's like, cut it open, see if it's done enough.
Oh, that's the thing
in
Texas. They always make you.
They do?
Like, hey,
Okay.
sir, will you cut in? And I've gotten to a point, usually by that point, I'm so hungry, I say, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to eat whatever the fuck this is. I don't care how it's cooked at that point.
I like my steaks medium rare.
Same.
But I opened this thing up
This
and
thing
I'm
was
like,
medium
ooh.
well, huh?
Ooh. No, it was like still bleeding. And I was like, oh,
Okay,
baby.
it was blue.
Yeah, it was like purple inside.
Right.
I was like, yeah, we might need to throw this fucking thing back on the grill.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. It was an awesome steak. But you want to be there. You want to be helping build the brand, right? You want to live the brand. And I think and I'm still trying to figure this out. And I've hired marketing people. I don't think my money needs to sit in my account. My money needs to be used as a tool to help me move to the next step and help as many people as I can and help myself mainly. So I just hired this great branding person, this girl online. This girl Tatum.
Okay.
Have you seen her?
No.
She's awesome. So we had a couple calls and she's like kind of helping me like build the brand a little bit because I'm at that point where I'm like, all right, I have some traction. I just now need to tighten this whole thing up.
Right.
So I'm trying to build my brand as much as I could. And I think a lot of people put the cart before the horse. They're like, oh, well, I have the brand. Now I could walk away. But I'm like, no, you need to stay in it.
Yeah.
Because if you do need to make adjustments and pivot a little bit, well, you need to be the guy steering that ship.
100%.
So I don't know. Maybe that's my theory.
How long have you been owning and operating the gyms?
So I opened up my first gym in 2013. I had a CrossFit gym in Paramus, New Jersey. Had some shitty partners. Got fucked on that deal. Spent 2 years in fucking court to get back about 30 grand, which is pointless.
Yeah.
But my attorney is my best friend's father. So he So he's just like, all right, well, we'll just keep fucking grinding you guys. And then eventually they gave in and gave me my money back. They owed me 80. I got about 30. Yeah. Then I went to the city. I built up Solace, New York. It was CrossFit Solace. They brought me in as just a coach. Then I became the general manager. Then there was partnership involved and it was all this bullshit. And there were so many people with their hands in the pot. It was a $3 million CrossFit gym. It was a beautiful space. And I go, if we're going to make this fucking thing successful, we cannot just sell CrossFit. We need to be able to pivot and do other shit.
Yeah.
So I rented out part of the space to a yoga studio, Y7 Yoga, which was like, they were paying us rent. So now it took a little bit off our plate. I started doing HIIT classes. And in 2014, 2015, because I saw the writing on the wall, I go, well, this CrossFit thing's not going to last forever. There's a lot of people who don't want to use a barbell, who are afraid of using this implement and doing kipping pull-ups and all that shit. And I wasn't about that. I wanted more like strict strength stuff. And I started getting into this shit, like the Onnit kettlebells and maces and all that shit. So I started working with John Wolf, 14, 15. We started doing some of their continued education at my gym. We'd get like 100 people. 120 people. And
I remember that was, there was a period of time where
continued education was like the thing. I had in a month, I had Onnit there. I had John Russ in there. I had fucking CFSC there. I had like Boyle's people.
Yep.
I was bringing in different continuing education because I wanted my trainers to be the best.
Right.
And then I said, there's this market of New York City trainers. So many, every fucking dickhead and their mother's leaving their job to become a trainer. And I go, all right, well, if you're going to be a trainer, come to my gym and learn from the best.
Nice.
So like my weekends, like I would charge these guys, I'd be like, whatever you guys make, just give me 10, 15% for the space because I got to cancel all my classes and shit. It's an economical thing for everybody here.
Right.
So I go, I'll bring you guys in. And now I have this incubator of great trainers from Long Island, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut coming into the space. So it was great. And that's how I connected with a lot of like trainers and stuff in the city. And then, and there was this heavy focus on learning and growing, kettlebells, FRC, all this shit. And then the pandemic hits. And now everybody puts their shit online and everybody's like, well, if I want to learn it, I don't need to spend 2 days at a seminar. I'm just going to go and look it up online. And we ran into the problem that we were talking about before. Oh, well, I saw this guy do this and this guy do this. And you don't really know the rhyme or reason to it. You're just throwing all this shit up against the wall and hoping it sticks with your clients.
Right.
But like, I still believe it. Like Landmine University. I know some people are like, oh, I love it. And if you listen to him and David Weck talk about, like Alex and David Weck talk about, you should have Alex on. Have you ever had him on?
I haven't.
He's awesome.
Okay.
Very smart guy. He looks like a fucking Neanderthal. He's a, he's a monster of a guy, but Alex is a very smart dude. And David Weck's, like I consider them Marty McFly and Doc Brown. Like David Weck is the Doc Brown, has these crazy ideas, and you start hearing him talking. And if you pay attention to him long enough, you're like, all right, I get what he's saying.
Yeah,
there's some good stuff in there. But Alex is really smart, and their whole thing is like the spinal engine theory.
Yep.
And I love a lot of that stuff because it makes sense because it's like how we move, and then now you're just exaggerating those movement patterns to kind of expose better. Because when I start to teach people the landmine stuff, I start to see them move a little bit more athletically than they would.
Right.
In New York, I get a lot of people who might as well have been born with 2 left feet, who can't fucking walk and chew gum. Like one of the things that
not a lot of rotation happening.
No.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I have a ton of people who have been doing CrossFit for years and a lot of this stuff. And when you first start getting them moving and you're like, all right, first thing I'm going to have everybody do, start at this line and you're going to march just down to the end of the line. And you see people do this. And I'm like,
ipsilateral.
Holy shit. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That reminds me, Pat Davidson, I watched him do
he's the best.
I watched him do an IG live, I think it was one time.
Yeah.
And he was trying to cover Derek Hansen's running mechanics stuff. And you start very basic. It's just a march. You start with a march and you'll do like a banded march. And he gets this guy, this guy had volunteered to do it. He's like, I need some people to help me do this thing. And the guy starts marching ipsilateral and Pat goes, oh, we've got an ipsilateral guy like that. And then he was like, okay, like now we're going to go from the march to the skip, from the skip to the run in place. And then you're going to skip for height, right? And then you're going to full on like sprint.
Yeah.
And the guy did every single thing ipsilaterally. And
it's almost like hard to.
Pat was getting visibly frustrated with this person because he was ruining his presentation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's people who come into the gym. They're like, I want to go hard. I need to sweat. Like one of the things I say constantly in my gym, I go, fuck sweating. Sweating is overrated. Yeah. I go, sweating is a byproduct of you working hard. Yeah. I want you to work hard. Stop, because everybody's like, oh, I just need a good sweat today. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I could go sit in my car, turn the heat on and sweat.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm getting better at anything.
Right.
I go, so don't make sweating the goal. Make working hard the goal, and then sweating will just happen.
Yeah.
There are so many fucking people. I go, I had this woman who just joined the gym, my new gym in Jersey. And she's like, I just think I need more cardio. I go, oh, in all your years of fucking being an expert in the field, why do you think you need? She's like, well, I just need to sweat more. I go, lady, if you don't listen to fucking anything I say during class, because I'll get on my soapbox and start ranting all the time. I'm like, what the fuck's the matter with you? I go, do you think you're going to sweat the fucking fat off?
Right.
Do you think that's what's going to happen? I go, listen to me. I've been doing this a long time. I go, and if you listen to anybody worth their own fucking salt, they'll tell you the first thing you should do is lift weights.
Yeah.
At any age, at any fucking demographic of person, or whatever you want to identify as, a fucking, mutant, whatever you are, you should lift weights.
Yeah.
That should be the first fucking thing you do. And then if you have extra time, then you could go and fucking do your cardio and stuff.
Yeah.
I go, but people have overvalued cardio for so long. And I was always like, I just always believed in like, the tagline for Strong New York has always been, there's no substitute for strength. If you're strong, and now it's not size, it doesn't mean you have to look like a bodybuilder,
Right.
but if you're strong, there's no substitute for that.
Yeah.
Strong is strong. Slow things down, lift heavier, because now like there's a lot of research saying, well, you don't need to do 20, 30, 40 reps. You could do 5 or 6 reps as long as you're getting to that point where you're putting maximum tension on the muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Then it'll grow and get better. And it's as old as time. It's so cliche to guys like us because we've seen it 100 times. But like when you show somebody, you're like, all right, this is 5 pounds of muscle and this is 5 pounds of fat.
Right.
Because everybody's like, well, I don't want to get jacked. I go, listen to me. Since I was 13 years old,
I've been trying my best.
all I want to do is fucking fill out an extra large shirt. Really. That's all I want to do. And I have yet to do it. So please, with all my trying and years of knowledge, I still have yet to fill out an extra large shirt.
Yes.
So
there were a few times. So, before, at one point in time, I managed a training department at Lifetime. And part of that process is a member signs up. And with that, they get an onboarding session, which is just a trainer's opportunity to sell training.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I did a lot of those. And one of the things that I would hear pretty frequently was like, well, I don't want to put on too much muscle. And then my favorite one was like, well, I don't want to get, arms like yours. And I'm thinking, lady.
Yeah.
You could never if you tried.
Yeah,
First of all.
yeah.
Okay.
You could take all
I've
the
been
gear
working
you
my
want.
whole life. Yeah, that's right. I fucking dare
and
you to
you're
try.
a fucking genetic freak. What are you, 6'5", 250?
No, I'm not quite. I'm 6'3". I'm 235 right now.
Yeah. I mean, you're a fucking monster to most people. Like even yesterday, I went over to Gracie Humaida and did a seminar. And there were like 3 guys in the class. Now, I train in New York where everybody's like, you're a big guy. And I'm like, no, I'm 195. I was in this class yesterday. There were 5 guys.
Yeah.
Easily 250, 265. And I'm like, yeah, fuck this. Like, even if this guy's a pussy, he's going to fucking tear him.
Big fucker, yeah.
He's a big motherfucker. And they look like you. They're corn-fed fucking Midwest. I'm like, dude, this guy's going to fucking tear my head off. Like, this purple belt was like sizing me up. I'm like, dude, fuck off.
Calm down.
And he was like 30 years old.
Right.
I'm like,
Listen, pal.
listen, I'm old. I'm on a very low dose of TRT. I go, please, just be gentle.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yeah.
The Coach 'em Up podcast is sponsored by Squat Wedgies. Tim, what are squat wedgies?
Squat wedgies are an adjustable squat wedge, 7, 13, and 20 degrees.
It's big enough to elevate your whole foot and not just your heel.
Because it's rubber, it doesn't slide on surfaces.
It's 22 pounds, so it's durable and stable enough for even your biggest athletes.
There's a 90-day risk-free trial. The shipping is free, and
Get 15% off squat wedgies with our discount code coachemup15.
coachemup15 for 15% off of the best squat wedge on the planet. Zach, you know what my favorite clothing brand is?
Tell me.
It's Legends. I've been wearing it for a long time. From training to lifestyle, Legends has got you covered.
So what kind of gear does Legends have?
You can get shirts, shorts, underwear, socks, tops and bottoms, hoodies, hats, sweats. They've got it all. And they just dropped an entire women's line.
Holy smokes.
I know.
Tim, the great thing about these tees, I found I'm 20% stronger rocking them when I train.
Speaking of 20%, that's how much you save when you go to legends.com and enter in promo code coachemup or click the link below. Kitty, we're going to get into some segments, man.
Sure.
How's that sound?
Awesome.
All right. This first segment is called 3 Things. This segment's brought to you by Squat Wedgies. You'd use code coachemup15 for 15% off at checkout. We were just talking off air about.
I have 5 squat wedges in my gym and I love the product.
Shout out Squat
It's awesome.
Wedgies.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say let's roll back time and someone is kind of where you were after you realized that fitness that's the way.
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to leave everything else behind and you're going to relentlessly pursue this, what are 3 things? And these can be attitudes, actions, philosophies, steps, 3 things that you would tell someone to prioritize to help get them to where they want to be?
Be relentless. You know, don't ever look at the long haul. Look at what's in front of you and do that really well. And don't say, oh my God, I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my life, because it becomes too much of a daunting task. Totally. And it's going to frustrate you and you're not going to be able to do it. When I used to look at the world and be like, oh fuck, I'm going to have to get up every day now at 5 a.m. I have the opportunity now that I have clients at 5 a.m. and it gets me fired up. Like, I love that time of day.
Hell yeah.
You know, if I'm not up by like 6, 7 o'clock, I feel like I wasted the day. So when you find what you love, then you're excited to get up. Yep. So if you're doing something where you're like, fuck this, I don't want to get up, I hate life, change careers, do something else. And I know I say that very lightly, but it's so important, and you have to just take the plunge and do it. And it's hard and it sucks. And I've done it multiple times. I've lost everything twice, and you have to come back and just keep fighting. Never give up. You know, lifting is always, you know, the North Star. Always do something hard. You know, there's nights I don't want to fucking go train jiu-jitsu. There's nights I don't want to lift. There's nights I don't want to be in the gym. But when you start to just do it and make it a habit, then it becomes so much easier. And then nutrition, right? Like, as much as you don't realize it, what you're eating affects your moods. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a good mood, when you feel good, when you look in the mirror, and you know, I'll break people's balls all the time about being overweight and stuff. I was there. I know what it feels like. But when you start to feel good, then it sets everything else in your day up so much better. Like, when you're excited about life and the way you feel, then you're going to be nicer to your girlfriend, your parents, your kids, you know, the people at work. If you could get yourself, right? And don't look at it as a selfish thing. If I could optimize what I need to do in my day, right? If my best day is I get up, I train, I have a cup of coffee, now I'm ready to go, then do that. Get up a little bit earlier, set that up, but optimize what you need to do to function as the best version of yourself. And it's not selfish. It's just the way you need to be able to operate.
Yeah. I love that, man. Yeah. Incredible. All right. Next segment. This one's called Rant and Rave.
Okay.
This one's fun. Okay. As it pertains to the fitness industry, give me a rant, something that you see that you're like, I wish we had less of this. And then after the rant, you're going to bring it back home. Okay. With a rave, something that you're seeing, a trend, or anything in general that you're seeing that you're like, I love this and I want to see more of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stand the fact that everybody's a fucking expert, right? Like, nobody pays fucking homage to the guys who did it, right? You just take and never are like, oh, I got this from this person. I got that from that person. Like, pay tribute to the people that you got shit from, because you got every fucking dickhead online being like, oh, I understand lever systems and all that. And I'm like, all right, well, you didn't fucking figure that out. You're not. So who'd you get that from and where to come from? Right. At the same time, I appreciate it because now you have more people educating people on the importance of strength training. So I like the fact that there are more people strength training and talking about the importance of strength, because in reality, at the base of it, right, when people ask me what I'm trying to do, if I can make the world a better place through fitness, which I do believe we are doing, then it becomes a much better place to live. Think about the people who create heinous crimes in like shit parts of the country. I live in one, right? Mm-hmm. You think about these people who are unhappy with themselves. They're depressed. They feel like nobody cares about them. It starts by caring about yourself and taking care of yourself. And if you could give people that outlet, you hear all the time about young kids in underprivileged areas who find a coach. Yep. They start training and then they grow this amazing life for themselves. Yeah. If we could start getting people to care about themselves, then I'm not worried about in my world, I'm like, oh man, when Eric called me and said, I'm like, fuck, this guy's got an awesome podcast. I'm happy. I want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
When you have your own shit going on, and I realized this when I was on television. When I was on television, some of the people that I got to connect with were other successful people, guys who played football. Like one night I met a bunch of guys from the Giants. And now at the time, it was 2006, 2007, I would go out and everybody wanted to fight me. Yeah. Everybody wanted to fucking get a piece. They're like, fuck that guy from the challenge. Because this guy was some fucking construction worker. He worked for his father's company,
right.
hated his fucking life.
Right.
So he wanted to like,
yeah, he's going to fuck with you.
Yeah, his Friday night was spent like wanting to fucking fight me. And I'm like, buddy, I'm just here to fucking get laid. I don't want to fight anybody.
Right,
you know?
Yeah.
But like when I met other successful people, they're like, oh man, that's awesome. You know, like there's a mutual respect there. When you see other people who are doing stuff, think about like a mastermind or something. Mm-hmm. When you're in one of those groups or you're at like one of these elitist fucking parties or something, let's just say everybody now feels like they're on the same playing field. So they open up a little bit.
Right.
Like that's why like other celebrities hang with other celebrities and stuff. They don't, because there's no like, petty bullshit involved. The reason why certain people's circles are people who do in and around the same shit. Like we hang out with other guys who train because there's like some level of camaraderie there. There's some level of respect there. Mm-hmm. So if I could get more people to feel good about themselves, and I think a lot of these like influencers and stuff, as much as I think some of them are fucking annoying,
right?
They're helping other people find a purpose.
Yeah.
And without purpose, then the world's a very shitty place. Somebody who tries to fucking assassinate the president, somebody who shoots up a fucking grammar school,
right.
Somebody who, blows up a building. These are all fucked up people. Yes, there's some level of mental issue there,
sure.
But if there was somebody who gave a fuck about them and gave them a purpose and direction, they'd be like, if they put that much effort into doing something good, could you imagine what they could create?
Yes, 100%. It'd be a much better place.
Yeah. So, and I want the place, that's why I always called it Strong New York, because I'm like, if I could make my city a little bit nicer to live in, where I don't have to worry about my clients leaving the building at night, getting attacked on the street, or like when I'm coming to work in the morning and there's some fucking homeless guy laying in front of the door and I'm like, buddy, could you move?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, am I going to fucking fight this guy? He smells like piss and shit and I'm going to fucking wrestle him away from the door. I'm just trying to walk into work and this guy's has the worst life ever.
Right.
You know? So.
I love it. I'm with you there too. All right. Last segment.
Sure.
This one's called Solicited Advice. So, in fact, let's say you're walking to work and, you're about to go in the door. You said you're on the 5th floor, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're getting on the elevator. Someone else gets on the elevator with you. Mm-hmm. They're getting off on the floor before you. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, you feel compelled to share a piece of unsolicited advice to this person. You don't know what it is. You just feel like this is something you need to share. What would that piece of unsolicited advice be to this random person?
Take care of the little things and the big things take care of themselves.
That's really good advice.
Right? It's the simplest shit. It's like if I get up and I work out and I take care of myself and I do all the little things that I should be doing, then, one of the things that I tell a lot of my clients when, especially like people who are going through a divorce, male or female, people who are trying to get a new job, I go, when you become the best version of yourself, when you walk into a room and people are like, I want that motherfucker on my team. I don't give a shit I could teach them all the other bullshit, but like when you're in that mind space of like, hey, I'm confident, I feel good, no one could stop you. Yeah. So take care of all the little stuff, take care of yourself, put yourself in the right positions. And then it's those little things. And then timing, like opportunity meets, you at your optimal place.
Yes.
Anything could happen. And you sky's the limit. I was talking, that girl who works at C4 with Eric. What's her name?
Shit.
Anyway, she was talking about when she got the job at Nutrabolt. Yeah. And she's like, I was the right person at the right time. Yeah. I was like, that's a pretty good gig. Because I told her, I was like, wow, it's a pretty cool gig you got. You run the whole facility and stuff. Yeah. She's like, I was, I had done it before and I was really excited about it. And I put myself out there, applied for the job and I got it. And I was like, that's great. So it's doing all the shit you if you become the person you want to hang out with,
Right.
sky's the limit.
100%.
Yeah.
I completely agree. That's been my experience.
Because I tell people, and I say this not to put people down, but when I have somebody who comes to me, a client, a friend, and they're like, I just want to meet somebody or I want to get this job. And I'm like, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Would you fuck you?
Yeah.
Would you hire you? What would you change? If you could change, if you had a magic wand, what would you change? Okay, so now you could take care of all those things.
Right.
If you want to go get Botox, it's really not that fucking expensive. If you want to lose some weight, you need to put in the effort and make the sacrifice. Become the person that you want to attract.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get it backwards, to your point. Like, I think people say, oh, if I just find this person who has these qualities, or if I just find this job that has this set of circumstances, if I just move to this city that has these things, then I'm going to be okay. Things will get better. It's like, no. And I speak about this because I'm biased. When I show up as the person that I want to be in that relationship, I find that relationship. When I become qualified and gain enough experience as a trainer, coach, owner, operator, business manager, then the business opportunity shows up. Right?
You have to look yourself in the mirror.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Every day. And said, did I do all the things that I could do to be the best version of myself? Am I doing everything that my wife or my girlfriend or whoever needs me to be?
Yep.
Am I doing everything that my business needs me to be? And be honest with yourself. Take ownership. Like, hey, did I fucking do where did I fuck up? And then fix that little thing, because it's probably a little thing. I love that story of the British cycling team. Like, they hadn't won, and then this guy came in and changed all these little habits, the way the spokes in their bike, and the way they slept, and the pillow they slept on, and the time they went to bed. And you optimize all those little things, and skyrocket. They win like 7 fucking championships in a row. But like, when you look at it, you're like, okay, you moved to Austin, you came here. You work your fucking ass off when you don't want to, the days you don't feel like it, you still do it. Now you attract a pretty girl, you attract all this fortune, and because you're doing all those little things. Yeah. Had you have not done all those little things, you wouldn't be where you're at today.
Not even a little bit. So, no choice. Yeah. Kenny, dude, thank you.
Thank you
for coming on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I hope I was just as entertaining as Mike Isertel.
100%.
Because that motherfucker doesn't stop telling jokes.
No.
Yeah.
Listen.
There's sarcasm in every fucking question or answer he gives you.
He is so smart. It's actually...
It's annoying.
It's incredible.
Have you had Jordan Shallows on yet?
I have.
Okay. Yes. So he's another one where he'll say a bunch of shit and I'm like, I'm too stupid to...
Yeah. Jordan, slow down.
Yeah. He'll start talking about the body. I'm like, I missed all that because I'm not smart enough to keep up.
Shout out Jordan. We love Canadians on the show. We've had so many Canadians. Kenny, where can people find you and connect with you?
So Strong New York will be September 27th this year. I hope everybody comes out and shows up. Working on a really cool project for it this year. So we'll be announcing that pretty soon. At Strong New York, at the Strength Club New York and New Jersey, and then at Kenny Stantucci.
Let's fuck.
And then the Strong New York, Strong as Fuck podcast is my podcast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Check out Strong as Fuck podcast. Share this with a friend. We appreciate everyone who listened and watched and made it all the way through. We'll see you next time.